as State Working Committee members call for removal of Chairman Adams over alleged incompetence. INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu dismisses speculation over postponement of general elections. And from the foreign scene, hundreds march in Washington to commemorate birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. Good evening and welcome to the news at 7. I am Akinwumi Abotunde. Ondo State government says Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu is in good health and urged people of the state to disregard false and subversive reports doing the rounds. A statement by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Richard Olatunde, said there is no ounce of truth in the reports being circulated on the health of the governor. The statement said while Governor Akeredolu has had few health challenges like every other human being, he has been treated and is recuperating as well as discharging his official functions. The government in a statement appreciated the growing concerns of the citizens as well as the outpouring of prayers and urged people to ignore the unfounded insinuations which it said was capable of creating needless anxiety. The Ondo State government said Akeredolu will continue to discharge his official duties in line with the redeemed agenda of his administration while also taking quality rest for renewed vigor. So let's move to politics. Members of the Ondo State Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party have called for the removal of the chairman of the party, Fatai Adams, over alleged incompetence, high-handedness, lack of transparency, anti-party activities, and polarization of PDP across the 18 local government areas. Reports say the State Working Committee of the party met with the leadership of the party demanding the removal of Adams, saying the chairman lacked the capacity to lead the party to victory in the 2023 general elections. The SWC also alleged that apart from causing division within the PDP, Adams lacked the capacity to bring all aggrieved members of the party together, while the candidates have been working at cross purposes. The State Publicity Secretary of the party, Kennedy Perete, who also confirmed the development, said leaders of the party have appealed to the SWC members to sheath the sword and work with the chairman for the development of the party ahead of the next month's election. The Independent National Electoral Commission says it is not contemplating postponing the 2023 general elections. The chairman of INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, while speaking at the Chatham House, United Kingdom, about the electoral umpires' preparations for the general elections in February, said a general election in Nigeria is like conducting an election in the whole of West Africa and beyond. Yakubu said attacks on INEC facilities would not deter it from conducting the polls. He added that the enthusiasm of young people and the deployment of online registration are behind the surge in the number of newly registered voters in the country.
There are enormous expectations both within Nigeria and internationally about the conduct and management of the 2023 general election. The expectations place a great responsibility on the election management body, the Independent National Electoral Commission. We are not taking these responsibilities lightly. We have promised Nigerians and friends of Nigeria that the 2022 general election will be free, fair, credible, and inclusive. And we have left no stone unturned in preparing for it, despite several challenges. But all elections, especially those involving the type of extensive national deployment like we do in Nigeria, will naturally come with challenges. We have worked closely with stakeholders and development partners to confront these challenges, and we are satisfied with our preparations so far. Our commission does not take the pledge that we have repeatedly made to Nigerians lightly. We are leaving no stone unturned in our preparations, and our commitment remains only to Nigerians and not to any political party or any candidate. Our commitment and loyalty is to Nigeria and the Nigerian people. Only the votes they cast will determine who becomes what. It's not in our hands, it's in the hands of citizens. This is what the law requires of us. We cherish our institutional independence and the integrity of the Commission, and with the enthusiasm of Nigerians, the goodwill of stakeholders and partners, and the commitment of the Commission, we believe that the 2023 general election will be among the best conducted in Nigeria. May I, on this note, once again reiterate our position that the Commission is not contemplating, let alone planning, to postpone the 2023 general election. We are going ahead to conduct the election as scheduled. 12.2 million new voters were registered, out of which 9.5 million were validated after a thorough cleaning up of the data. We believe that the enthusiasm, especially among young people, was partly responsible for this surge, but they are also motivated, we believe, by the innovation of online pre-registration introduced by the Commission. For the first time, we introduced the online pre-registration of voters, where citizens can commence the process online, but they have to go to the physical or designated registration centers to conclude the process.
Mahmoud Yakubu, chairman of INEC, addressing Chatham House in the United Kingdom on the electoral umpire's readiness for this year's general elections. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission says it will conduct mock accreditation nationwide ahead of next month's general elections. Chairman of INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, said the mock accreditation would be carried out across selected polling units to ascertain the integrity of the bimodal voter accreditation system before the main elections begin in February. Yakubu said every BVAS machine deployed across the 774 local government areas had been tested, adding that the functionality had been found to be impressive. He also stated that backup machines had been provided in case of system glitches. The presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, has promised to provide good governance if elected at the February 25 election. The APC flag bearer made the promise in Ilorin, Kwara State, where he vowed not to disappoint Nigerians.
You have no other symbol. The symbol of freedom, cleanliness, clean of gecko, killing the money laundering, killing fraud, sweeping fraud away, sweeping corruption away, sweeping security away is the broom. Broom. No other choice. You don't vote for anybody else. You vote for me. You will have agri processing. Vote for me.
Ahmed Bola Tinubu, presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress. We'll take a break at this point. When we return, we have more stories for you on politics. Stay with us.
A peak protein breakfast gets you up to a great day. How do I know? Because my daddy goes to his work feeling good and always with a smile. Mommy is always filled with confidence. My sister is always in tune. And for me, learning new things becomes absolute fun. Because all day and every day, the peak goes on.
generator by participating in the Festival of Joy promo by Glow.
Hey, don't do this one for me. You to make it set today with sewing machine.
I won generator last year. This year I won for
It's a celebration like no other, with prizes like no other. 20 new houses to be won, 24 brand new cars, 200 sewing machines, 100 generators, 1,000 rechargeable fans. Glow Festival of Joy promo. Dial *611# now.
Thank you for staying with us on the news at 7. The Senate says it plans to adjourn plenary next week to allow lawmakers have time for campaigns for the forthcoming elections. The Senate resumed plenary today from a 3-week break after it adjourned plenary on December 28 last year. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, noted that the proposed break will enable lawmakers contesting for various positions carry out necessary campaigns in their constituencies. He, however, said the Senate could suspend activities this week if it can deal with urgent issues requiring its attention, so it does not have to sit next week. Staying with politics, former President Goodluck Jonathan has expressed concern over the negative energy being generated by the political class in the build-up to this year's general elections. Jonathan said politics should not be used as an avenue to commit crime and urged security agencies not to spare offenders. Ahead of the elections, the former president pleaded with politicians to realize that politics is about marketing your ideas and not about fighting, insulting, or abusing. Jonathan called for the arrest and prosecution of violent political actors in the country, adding that it is the only way to stop vice during electoral period. Ondo State government says it will continue to efficiently monitor its projects for optimal benefit of the citizens. The state head of service, Kayode Ogundele, gave the assurance during a project prioritization workshop for selected ministries, departments and agencies in Akure, the Ondo State capital. Osrc reporter Zimo Ebiemi covered the event and it is presented from our studio.
The project prioritization workshop for selected ministries, departments and agencies in Ondo State was organized by the Performance and Project Implementation Monitoring Unit and is aimed at ensuring proper monitoring of government projects across the state. Speaking at the opening of the 2-day workshop, the State Head of Service Kayode Ogundele tasked the various MDAs to proactively track projects across the country for benefit of people of the state. He assured that the present administration was committed to completing all projects and determined to address infrastructural gaps across the state.
And when we talk about project prioritization, one of the greatest undoing of not just Nigeria but African countries is the problem of not being able to focus and prioritize projects based on the genuine needs of the people as well as what we will be able to drive with the available resources.
The chairman on the occasion and the special advisor to Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu on union matters, Mr. Dari Aragbaye, appreciated the efforts of various partner agencies, mostly the African Development Bank, for its developmental efforts in the state.
With this kind of collaboration, we will not only boost our capacities and various areas of service delivery and project implementation, we will also be able to access support and even friendly loans to support our programs. For this selected FDAs that are here, we must say that again, once again, for all of us to put our
The Director General Performance and Project Implementation Monitoring Unit, PPIMU Babajide Akeredolu, represented by the Chief Administrative Officer Olumoyiwa Akinkole. Government's readiness to ensure resources are judiciously used as and when due, adding that government would always meet minds to ensure projects are implemented to the latter.
Meanwhile, the head of service has promised the readiness of civil servants to work with government towards moving the state forward. While visiting ministries and parastatals at the state secretariat in Akure, Mr. Ogundele said the gesture was to further encourage workers on the discharge of their duties and make corrections where necessary. Omoriela Hungbeji has details.
Ondo State Head of Service, Kayode Ogundele, embarked on unscheduled visits to government offices to boost the morale of civil servants in the state. State Ministries of Information and Orientation, Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, and the Office of Establishment and Training were the offices visited on Monday morning. The visit, he said, would be periodic exercise to eradicate redundancy in the civil service and to encourage workers in the discharge of their duties.
The era of just wasting government time doing things that are not, that has no value in terms of contributing to what we are expected to do in our offices. That era, we should put it behind us.
According to the head of service, government has played its part of the bargain by offsetting backlog of salary arrears as promised, saying workers must reciprocate through excellent service delivery.
What the public should be expecting is a more efficient, a more responsive public service. The civil servants should be aware of the fact that the public, the members of the public, they are looking up to them to ensure that they assist this current government in achieving its goal of delivering the dividend of democracy, good governance. And there is no way that can be achieved if the vehicle that is expected to deliver is not doing the needful.
Administrative Secretary, Minister of Information and Orientation, Mrs. Toyin Onishile, alongside other top officers, enjoined workers to see the visit as an encouragement to be efficient at their duty posts.
The society is expecting more, especially in governance, in which the civil service is a key part. And so, everyone and all hands must be on the deck to ensure that this is done.
I believe it's just for workers to brace up for the new year so that government will continue to excel in all facets of development.
It is expected that the visit would serve as a clarion call for all stakeholders to play their part in ensuring efficient service delivery as well as achieving positive results. Omoriola Hungbeji, Osrc News.
A federal high court sitting in Lagos has adjourned till February 13 proceedings in the suit filed by the airline operators of Nigeria seeking to stop the establishment of a proposed national carrier, Nigeria Air. Justice Ambrose Lewis Lagua adjourned the suit following an application by lawyers representing Nigeria Air, Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika, and the Attorney General of the Federation Abubakar Malami, seeking to transfer the case from the Federal High Court in Lagos to the Federal High Court in Abuja. The lawyers cited jurisdiction issues as a major reason and noted that some of the defendants who are not resident within the judicial division of the Honorable Court will be subjected to serious hardship in the event the suit proceeds to hearing. Officials of the domestic airlines have, however, said that they will oppose the transfer of the case to Abuja as all the parties involved in the case are based in Lagos. Domestic airlines had alleged that the sale of shares of the proposed Nigeria Air violated the Companies and Allied Matters Act as well as that of the Securities and Exchange Commission. The National Agency for Foods and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has warned the public of two substandard cough syrups named Ambronol and Doc 1 Max. According to NAFDAC, the two syrups contain toxic ingredients. In a statement on its website, the agency noted that the products were identified in Uzbekistan, a Central Asian nation, and reported to the World Health Organization. According to NAFDAC, laboratory analysis of samples of both products undertaken by the National Quality Control Laboratories of the Ministry of Health of the Republic of Uzbekistan found both products contained unacceptable amounts of diethylene glycol. NAFDAC said the substandard products are unsafe and their use, especially in children, may result in serious injury or even death. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has warned that 25 million Nigerians risk severe hunger in 2023 if action is not taken. The UN agency said in a statement that nearly 25 million Nigerians are at risk of facing hunger between June and August this year. According to the agency, this is a rise from the 17 million persons earlier projected to face food insecurity in the country. It said conflicts, climate change, inflation, and rising food prices are the key drivers, noting that children are the most vulnerable to food insecurity. Moving to the foreign scene core, people have marched in Washington, D.C. to commemorate the birthday of American civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. They are demanding President Joe Biden and the U.S. Congress pass the legislation on voting rights. The U.S. federal holidays for the slain civil rights leader comes amid rising fears over hate crimes and curbs in voting access. Sheung Adetola has details.
A celebration for Martin Luther King, who would have been 94 years old. Decades after his death, his work to get a vote for all is still not complete. In 1965, President Lyndon Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act. Thanks to Martin Luther King, the measure outlawed discriminatory voting practices, but a recent report found that more than 4 million people were blocked from voting in last year's midterm elections. A third of those affected were black, and the words of Martin Luther King still echo through the years.
Let us march on ballot boxes, and we will fill our legislative halls with men of goodwill.
Mr. James was one of those who lost the right to vote because of her conviction on drug charges. As a lawyer, Keita was able to get through the complicated process of regaining the right to vote, and she now helps others do the same.
For some people, it can be an extremely lengthy battle, and for some people, they have given up because it is a lengthy battle or because it is so convoluted.
Stephen Frame was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment on a conspiracy to commit murder. She is unable and unwilling to pay the thousands of dollars in fines to regain the right to vote.
And I came home and I completed that parole without being a menace to society. I feel like at that point, it should automatically be given back to me. Just as quickly as it was taken away, it should automatically be given back to me.
An ugly fact behind the beauty of its capital, Nashville, is that the Republican state of Tennessee has the second largest number of disenfranchised after Florida.
You have to start looking at how do we expand the electorate, and by giving 470,000 people their voting rights back is how you expand that electorate. And again, and I think, if and when we do that, that will have huge political implications.
What the marshals here want is to restore votes to 10 times that number. More than 4 million people in 14 states were prevented from casting ballots last year. In the wider political context, it is also about the struggle between those who want to increase them. It is not just about Congress, it is about who controls the courts, the police stations, and the school boards. The U.S. has over 500,000 elected officials, and the demand of these protesters is that they represent all the country's people, not just some of them. Sheung Adetola, Osrc News.
Okay, so let's move on to sports. The 7th edition of the National Youth Games, earlier scheduled to hold in Asaba, Delta State, from the 8th to the 18th of February, has been postponed. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Minister of Sports and Youth Development, Alhaji Ismail Abubakar, stated that the postponement is due to logistics and time constraints, especially taking cognizance of the commencement of the general elections slated for February 25. While regretting all inconveniences which the postponement may cause its stakeholders, Mr. Ismaila assured that a new date for the Games will be announced later. Flying Eagles head coach Laden Boso has once again wielded the big stick on underperforming players in the team's camp. The team resumed training in Abuja last week with 35 players, and a number of foreign-based professionals have also linked up with the team in camp. Boso is expected to release his final 21-man squad for the 2023 Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations on January 25. The 7-time African champions will embark on a training tour of Morocco later this month. The 2023 Under-20 AFCON will kick off in Egypt on February 19 and run through March 11. The Flying Eagles are drawn in Group A with Egypt, Mozambique and Senegal. And to end the news at 7, a quick look at the major stories. The head of service of Ondo State, Kayode Ogundele, has challenged civil servants to monitor government projects towards efficient service delivery to the people. The state chairman of the Ondo State chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Fatai Adams, has come under intense call for his removal over numerous offences. Members of the State Working Committee of the party accused Mr. Adams of incompetence, anti-party activities, high-handedness, among others, which they claimed had polarized the party in all council areas of the state. The INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, has insisted that the commission is not considering another date for the peaceful conduct of the February general elections. And from the foreign scene, we told you that people in Washington have marched to commemorate the posthumous birthday of American civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr., demanding for voting rights. That's it on the news at 7. Thank you for being a part of it. Good evening.